Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, the three pillars of our childhood. Now, in this video, we are going to be taking 10 movies from each multiverse and ranking them. I've chosen the 10 based off of what sort of power they are bringing to the table, but also whether they are OG and just need to be included. So there's going to be a couple weird ones in here. But out of respect to your time, because we have 30 movies to get through, I'm going to be speed running this tier list. And in later videos, we are going to be putting all the movies of Disney on one team, all the movies of Pixar on one team, and all the movies of DreamWorks on one team, and having them go to war. But for now, let's see who the contenders are. First one, we have Disney. Disney's Frozen. Now, right out of the gate, the power for Frozen is coming entirely from Elsa. She is, in my mind, like the Darth Vader of Disney, where when she shows up, there's just so much power output that she can provide. She has that aura to her to where anyone that would like to take her down is probably going to fail. I mean, she pulls up to the fight just completely locked and loaded. I am instantly throwing her up into powerful but limited, and she might move up later, but she's not going to move down. I will say I think I'm going to keep her in powerful but limited because she is only one person, and we are talking full universes versus other universes. So despite her being extremely powerful herself, she is still only one person, and that limits her. So, before we move on, actually, let me just tell you a little bit about what she's capable of. So, obviously, she is the Ice Queen herself. She can manipulate ice and snow like a superhero would, but she can do that to such an extent that she can build massive intricate fortresses pretty instantaneously, and she's even powerful enough to create life out of snow. So Olaf, the character, that's created by Elsa. She can also make more combat ready creatures like these big indomitable snowmen. Is that the word? Anyway, the big scary snow monsters. She can make those in pretty much an unlimited supply. So that's powerful. But let's move on. All right, next movie, The Incredibles from Pixar. So, Pixar is coming to the fight with, out of the gate, a very powerful movie. Just like Frozen, Incredibles characters do have superpowers, but unlike Frozen, in The Incredibles, there are a lot of superpowers, right? There's not just one really powerful character. There is a small army worth of supers. And not only that, there's also these villains that are coming to the fight, too. So you have Syndrome, who, even though he's a little goofy sometimes, he is coming in clutch for The Incredibles because he's bringing with him, like all villains do, all this technology that is just really dangerous, and in this case specifically designed to take down superhuman characters. That is going to come in handy. But apart from Syndrome, the Incredibles themselves have just so many of the classic powers that we would see in other superhero films. So we got super strength, super speed, invisibility, and force fields. Apparently stretching is kind of a classic power. Even if it's not classic, it's powerful. And then you have Elsa-like powers with Frozone, right? So there's just a lot coming to the table here. They're going to be tough. So I am going to put them in top contender, mainly because they're like Elsa, but there's more of them. There's more team potential. They're a top contender. What can I say? So next, DreamWorks is putting their first movie into the fight here, and that movie is Kung Fu Panda, one of my favorites at DreamWorks. Kung Fu Panda is coming to this fight with not a small army, but really a large army of very hand-to-hand capable fighters, right? So unlike the previous two movies we've discussed, they don't really have superpowers, but they are legit masters at their craft. It's going to be hard to hit them, and it's not going to be hard for them to hit their opponents. So that right out of the gate makes them powerful, but perhaps limited, because hand-to-hand fighting alone just simply will not hurt some of these characters. It doesn't matter how good of technique you have, you're not going to punch Mr. Incredible in any meaningful way that will hurt him. However, There are multiple characters that have fighting styles that can do a variety of different things. The most powerful of which, in my opinion, is the infamous whooshy finger hold. I'm bumping them up to top contender purely because of the whooshy finger hold. I mean, that alone, I think, knocks them up. It doesn't make them god tier, absolutely not, even though it does allow them to interact with the spirit realm. I don't think it's quite that powerful, but against any of the Incredibles, I mean, the whooshy finger hold would work. Can they actually successfully do the whooshy finger hold on the Incredibles? That's hard to say. I mean, Mr. Incredible, probably. Dash, I don't know if you're catching him. And Elastigirl, I don't know if you're really going to pin down her finger very easily. So for those reasons, I think The Incredibles is bringing with it just a slight edge, especially when you take into account Syndrome's technology. I mean, you can't send a robot to the spirit realm, and I don't really know what Kung Fu Panda has to offer that can even take down one of Syndrome's robots, right? One of the big bad villains of the Kung Fu Panda universe was just someone who had cannons. That's nothing compared to what Syndrome has packed. So that's enough said. I think they're a top contender, but not quite The Incredibles. Next, we're going back to Disney. We're going to alternate. We're just going to, round robin this thing. Next, we have The Lion King, a classic. And The Lion King is kind of middle of the road, I'd say, in power, because you don't have anything that is out of this world powerful, nothing unrealistically powerful, but you do have a lot of very strong animals. Lions are nothing to laugh at, especially when we're not necessarily comparing universes that are made for combat. The first three kind of are, but there's a lot of movies on this list that simply aren't concerned with fighting. So the fact that we have predators, apex predators of Earth, and in large quantity, not only lions, but elephants, rhinoceros, hippos, alligators, we got everything. We have an army of them. That's going to be strong. But I don't know if it's really worth putting them up with Elsa. I mean, I think Elsa alone could no-diff all of the animals. So are they a support? Well, the support class, the tier here that's support is kind of like they are powerful, similar to the top tier, but in a more background way. So I would say The Lion King is trying to just be straight up power, but isn't quite enough to warrant going any higher. So for now, The Lion King is going here. Maybe they will move up, but I'm just going to say right now, knowing what might be coming, they're better than nothing. Okay. All right. Next, Pixar is bringing Brave into the fight. So Brave is like Frozen in that she's limited. There's not a lot of characters. There's Merida, who is not someone to joke around with. She's a skilled killer. I mean, she's got a bow and arrow that she doesn't miss with, and that's honestly enough to kill a lot of characters in the Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks universe. I mean, it's a weapon. Not all characters have weapons. And not only is it a weapon, but she knows how to use it. And behind her is a grizzly bear that also happens to be related to her, which is, again, a very powerful beast. And then there's the witch. Now, the witch is going to give Brave as a movie a little bit of an edge, a little bit more power than you would really want to give this movie. I'm going to say they're at least better than nothing because of Merida and her bow, but the witch has the ability to kind of like counter any other person, right? The witch can turn someone else into a bear, at least, by cursing them. And it doesn't really matter if you have super strength or not. If you get cursed and turned into a bear, well, you're done. And you can debate whether the bear would then have super strength, but in the very least, it would substantially decrease the power probably of who gets cursed. So for that reason, I have to put Brave up into support because, I mean, that's just a real, it's good to have that in your back pocket, right? Like a kind of like a one-shot kill sort of deal. You probably can't use it all the time, but the witch just being there as a threat is good. And not only that, I mean, the movie plays with the theme of fate. And I'm not going to say that they just have control over fate because that would just put them into God tier. I mean, if you're fated to win, then, well, you'll win, right? If you have the narrative force behind you, you're not going to lose. But I'm not going to say they necessarily have control over fate, but I will say that they, as characters, at least have a little bit of support from fate, right? Like Merida says the whole, like, if you could change your fate, would ya, or something like that. And I think right there, that just kind of like gives her an edge. Maybe it's a little bit too meta, but either way, they're going to be in support. Next, we have DreamWorks bringing a similar movie to Lion King, kind of, Madagascar. So Madagascar and Lion King are kind of like direct competitors because they're both made up of the same sort of characters. They're made up of animals and kind of the same types of animals. You have the African classics. So where do they rank? Well, they're probably going to be on the same tier as Lion King, but are they going to be better or worse? And I'm just gonna make this quick. In terms of main characters, they're worse. Alex is getting demolished by Mufasa, okay? But what Madagascar has that Lion King doesn't are the penguins. And Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and I guess Private, they are a force to be reckoned with, or a force not to be reckoned with. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. They are a force that will probably beat the entire animal army of Lion King because they have the ability to essentially produce like guns, grenades, bombs. They can drive planes. Like they're just going to come into this fight and kill all the animals of the savannah in Lion King. So I'm putting them there. The main characters aren't helping very much, but the penguins alone are just really good. They honestly might be good enough to put them in support because it would be pretty nice if you're on their team to have an elite strike force, right? That could kind of assassinate or get reconnaissance or whatever. So for now, we'll keep them at the top of better than nothing because it is just 4 penguins, but it's also not just 4 penguins, right? Anyway. Moving on, back to Disney. We have now Lilo and Stitch. Now, Lilo and Stitch, besides all the family talk, is kind of a sleeper agent. This universe is way more powerful than you would expect. Essentially, what we have is a universe that is all centered around creating the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, right? When we're in a fighting situation like this, that's a huge advantage. So Stitch alone kind of beats almost everyone else on this list. He's unkillable, essentially. And the only things that have ever come to equal him or perhaps surpass him minorly are just other versions of him. And in his universe, which are going to be included in his fighting potential here, are versions of him that are more powerful, have less weaknesses, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them. There was an army of them created at one point. So what Lilo and Stitch as a movie is bringing to the table is just hundreds and hundreds of super-powered, indestructible aliens, right? None of these movies are doing anything against that. Sorry, not even The Incredibles. Sure, you could whooshy finger hold a couple of them, but again, there's hundreds of them. So it's not going to work out. They're automatically at the top, but they're not God tier. I mean, they're still just like mortal, killable things technically, but they're definitely a top contender. So that's where they're going. Next, we have Monsters, Inc. So Monsters, Inc. is Pixar's contribution to the more like non-human monster alien set that we're going with here. And Monsters, Inc. is an interesting one. It might almost be my favorite one to talk about because, yes, you have a lot of monsters. You have monsters that are scary, monsters that are big, monsters that have claws, that have teeth, that have like pinchers. There's monsters that turn invisible. I mean, there's just so many different monsters. Some probably like see really well, or they have whatever X ability that will make them valuable in a war. There's that. So there's just a whole society of those, right? And then you got Mike Wazowski, who's like completely useless. But besides him, there's just a lot of really good warriors to play into. But what really makes them powerful in my mind is, one, they do have like an energy system with the fear energy. But more than that, they have what they're using that energy for. And that is this interdimensional door network. That right there is, at least to me, support. Because what you essentially have is an army of monsters that have the ability to enter and exit through any door anywhere, and if they want to, they can just stay at their home base in their own dimension, right? They have a stronghold that can at any moment burst through your door and murder you, right? I mean, if you're Elsa with all this power and you're just laying down sleeping, and then all of a sudden your door opens and an invisible monster with a knife comes in, sorry, you're done. Like you just got assassinated, point blank. So that's really good. That could almost go into powerful but limited, but I don't know if I'm quite willing to move it up yet, so we're going to keep it at the top of support. Next, we have DreamWorks' contribution to our alien monster theme, and it is, you guessed it, Monsters vs. Aliens. This movie is a fun one, not quite as OG as some of the other ones here. Not that all the ones on here are OG, but it's a really good movie. I mean, especially if you want to try to put the movies into a combat situation like this, they are bringing like everything you could imagine. They are bringing super geniuses in terms of the cockroach dude, who also is kind of like unkillable. You have very, very powerful biological creatures like Susan and all the other monsters that are some of them are just like ridiculously strong. Like Susan, who's also called Ginormica, I believe, is just a human Godzilla. I mean, she was just infected by some alien radiation, or not infected, but like she absorbed some sort of alien radiation and is now a massive powerhouse, right? Like she can just fall from the sky through metal and like not even blink at it. Like she's very, very strong. So they have that. And then they also have easily the biggest robots on the entire roster here. I mean, they have these monumental sized robots that are meant for just like colonizing a planet, taking over. They have like hundreds of them. They have tons of them. So that alone is bumping them up, in my mind, to top competitor, because they have the tech, they have the biological like character power, and then they also have the United States government, which is totally valid to give them because it's a completely like big part of the movie. So where do they land? Well, definitely above Kung Fu Panda. None of the Kung Fu Panda characters are taking down the robots alone. Neither are the Incredibles. I mean, there's just massive characters, right? You have that giant caterpillar, you have Ginormica, you have all the robots. They're way too big for any of the Incredibles to deal with. I mean, I guess you could say that they're lucky Jack Jack is a baby. If Jack Jack grows up, everyone's cooked. But for now, Jack Jack's just a baby, so Monsters vs. Aliens wins. Now, does Monsters vs. Aliens beat Lilo and Stitch? That's where this gets interesting. I would say they kind of neutralize each other in that I don't think there's much Monsters vs. Aliens could do to get rid of Lilo and Stitch, but also it's going to be really hard for Lilo and Stitch to take down the monsters and robots in Monsters vs. Aliens, so they're kind of at an impasse. So for this, I'm going to just kind of go off of which one's probably more valuable, or which one I would probably want on my team, and that, to me, is Monsters vs. Aliens. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually going to put Lilo and Stitch back, because I didn't even mention Lilo and Stitch have villains. They have villains that have way more powerful alien technology than what's in Monsters vs. Aliens. They have spaceships with the weapons capable of sterilizing a planet, essentially making a planet have no life on it. So, yeah, Lilo and Stitch are taking it. I don't even know why I questioned that. Next, we are going back to Disney with Mulan. So Mulan is, in the very least, better than nothing, because you have warriors. You have a whole Mongol army. You have Chinese warriors. Mulan is about as good as any other character in the movie. Probably not as good as most of them. But she's got heart to her, and she's a fighter. That's more than I can say for some movies on this list. So she's at least better than nothing. Do the armies, do the Eastern armies beat the animals of Africa? Probably, because they just have like missiles and archers and swords and shields. I mean, yeah, they're going to win. And I think they're also going to win against the penguins. Even though the penguins can pull up with like guns, there's still only 4 of them. And I think eventually they would get caught. So I'm giving it to Mulan. I'm giving it to Mulan. It's close though. I mean, the penguins have a lot of power, but that's a little much. Like penguins fighting animals, yes, that's fine. They can use their slippery intelligence to deal with that. But Mulan is very smart, and there's a lot of smart characters in that movie. So they're probably going to find a way to get the penguins. Maybe. But it's close. At least there's a lot of armies there. All right, moving on. Next, we have Pixar's Cars. Cars is another one of those sleeper builds. Like, yes, it's just a bunch of cars, but who wins? A car or a person with a sword? The car is just splattering that person, right? We're going right back to Halo 3 with the splatter spree. Like, cars are mowing down all the armies we have so far. Not like the monsters aren't going to be taking down the cars. Brave isn't going to be taking down the cars. None of these armies are taking down the cars. Elsa has a shot, but here is where I'm going to give Cars something I think they deserve, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense. But hear me out. Just hear me out. I'm giving Cars the movie Planes as well. And that is because I believe, although Planes is a completely separate movie, I believe that it's clear that those characters, or at least those vehicles, would exist in the movie Cars. I mean, actually, they do. Like, we see non-car characters in the movie Cars, right? I mean, you could at least say the little, like, forklift people are non-cars, right? You have tractors, and you have trucks, and, I mean, was there a plane at some point? I want to say there was. So, they have literal fighter jets that are sentient. They have aircraft carriers that are sentient, which you can see in the movie Planes. That is crazy, okay? That beats Kung Fu Panda. You're not sending a Apache helicopter to the spirit realm. And does it beat The Incredibles? That's tough, because The Incredibles has a lot of superpowered characters, and it also has Syndrome, who is bringing technology. But I'm going to say there's just a literal whole world of sentient vehicles, and that's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be really overwhelming. I think they're going to fall, though, below Monsters vs. Aliens, because we not only have the U.S. government in both of these movies, sort of, so that kind of equals out, but Monsters vs. Aliens is bringing the supernatural element that Cars isn't really bringing. So for that, and in a way, Cars are limited too. I mean, they don't have hands, right? So like there are ways in which the Cars are limited, but they just have a lot of firepower. So they're still going to be a top contender. But I'm putting them right there. All right, next we have DreamWorks Spirit. I don't know if people watch this movie as much as I did growing up, because it seems like a lesser known one, but I've seen it so many times. Some of those songs go hard. I still listen to those songs. So anyway, Spirit is bringing with it a couple small armies of warriors. You have some Native Americans, which are, quick, agile fighters, especially on top of horseback. And then you have cowboys who are bringing guns to the mix, which is something a little bit better than what Mulan or any of the animals are bringing. So for that reason, I think they should go above Mulan. But you can ask the question, does Mulan's strength in numbers just overwhelm the cowboys? And I don't think so, because Spirit is also bringing like an industrialized country. So while I'm not just giving them like America at the time, there is like a full-blown train in the movie. So I think like what Spirit would do is pull up with like a train that's armed with guns. And I'm afraid no Mongol army is taking down a locomotive that's armed. So I'm giving it to the Spirit. And also horses and trains are just useful. So if they were to be teamed up with someone, I mean, that's good. All right, next we have Disney's Hercules. And this is going to be our first God tier. I mean, it's kind of a little bit too on the nose, to be honest, but I think we can all just agree that when you bring in the entire Greek pantheon, Zeus, Hades, all the other gods, you're going to be kind of winning most of the time. I mean, you literally control the forces of the world, and you're also immortal, and that's not even the main character of the movie. So Yeah, we're giving it to Hercules. They also are bringing the Titans, which are just gods but stronger. They're bringing big monsters like Cyclopses. Oh, that was a Titan. And like the Hydra. So they're god tier. Hercules is god tier. I don't think anyone's debating that. Next, we have quite a different power level, Toy Story. So I was debating on giving Toy Story also the movie Lightyear just to give Buzz that like edge, but I'm not going to because I think it just complicates things, and Buzz is also a complete bot in his movie. Like, not, yes, there's like spacecraft, but it's low-tech spacecraft, and Buzz Lightyear like can't fight to save his life. So just forget that. We're just doing Toy Story. It's a bunch of toys, and I think they need to start in not helpful at all. You could argue that they just have like a really little like spy force, right? Like if you needed to like retrieve some niche item like a key or something, like sure, tell the toys to go get it and they probably will figure out a way to do it. They'll go through the vents or something. But compared to the rest, I think they need to stay and not at all helpful. Like they don't deserve to be on the next tier up, right? Like maybe there's an in-between tier that I don't have on here, but no, they're not helpful at all. Let's just say that. Okay, next we have DreamWorks Puss in Boots. So we actually haven't hit Shrek yet, but don't worry, we will. And we just have Puss in Boots here. And Puss in Boots alone as a main character is very, very strong. He would alone be better than nothing. He's just such a good fighter. But he is going to get bumped up to at least top contender really fast because of the main villain, Death, right? There is a literal character in Puss in Boots that is the embodiment of death. I can sympathize with someone who thinks that death is more of just a force of nature and maybe doesn't deserve to be like part of the Puss in Boots army, but I think if anyone gets Death, it's this movie. I mean, they have a literal character named Death that has ideas and dialogue and all sorts of stuff. So I would say Death is on the Puss in Boots team. This is where it's going to get a little tough. Let me think about this. Death is beating The Incredibles. I don't know if it's beating Kung Fu Panda, because what happens when you kill someone in Kung Fu Panda? Do they go to the spirit realm and then can they come back? I'm not sure. But I'd say if you die from Death, you might have to go through Death's physics, right? And even if a character does go to the spirit realm instead of like truly dying, they're still kind of out of the fight at that point. So Puss in Boots goes above them. Can Puss in Boots kill cars? I mean, are the cars alive? That's really the question. I maybe not. And also, there's like the robots in Monsters vs. Aliens, so I don't know if they really if it deserves to go above that. This is tough. I mean, you might even say Death is god tier because it's Death, right? Death could kill Stitch. Death could kill Ginormica. I think for that reason we're putting Death in god tier. Let's just put Death up there. Is Death above Hercules? No, because I think you could say Death is just a servant of Hades, right? Like Death is at least just one god versus all of the gods. So no, not above, but probably god tier. I don't know if it's literally just one character. Like maybe he should just be a top contender. I'm not really sure. Not really sure about that. I'll put it in god tier for now. Okay, moving on. We are back to Disney. In this case, another Disney princess. We have the movie Tangled. So Rapunzel is actually the best asset for this movie. Yes, there's like a couple fighters, sort of, but none of them are making a meaningful impact. What Rapunzel was bringing to the fight here is obviously her magic hair, where she can give people immortality, heal wounds. That to me is support. That's support, like straight up. Literally play Overwatch, they're going to call her a support. You know what I mean? So I think you could do some fun stuff with her, like especially if she teams up with someone who like gets tired. Like if you had her wrapping her hair around Elsa and then just having Elsa constantly getting like rejuvenated as she's just pumping out armies of snow monsters. That could be interesting. But I'd say she's a support, but she is only one person, and I don't know if it's really better than like the witch. Like the witch could just turn Rapunzel into a bear. So she's going to be at the bottom of support for now. Next, we have A Bug's Life, which is absolutely going into not at all helpful. Pixar is not cooking with this movie. Not only, I mean, ants are really strong, right? But not these guys. These ants got beat by a bunch of grasshoppers. Now, they did eventually win, of course. But even then, like, at maximum, they are as strong as a single ant pile. Like, no, I don't need to explain anything else. They're done. In a similar way, we have the Bee Movie from DreamWorks, and they are at least better than A Bug's Life, but actually, I'm going to bump them up to support, and you might be like, whoa, what are you thinking, right? Hear me out. The bees have a perspective of the world equal to a human, right? They understand the world. They were in legal court cases with humans. What that makes them is perfect spies. They are tiny little bugs that understand everything that's happening. So you could just send out a bunch of bees to go get reconnaissance and come back, and I mean, no one's catching them. Like, they are going to see and hear everything that happens. So they're pretty good. I would say that's even better than Rapunzel's hair. Is that better than Brave? Yeah, I would take it. I'd rather have that. If I was going to war and I needed either just a like perfect reconnaissance machine, the perfect spies that could even possibly drop poison into people's drinks and stuff, I'm going Bee Movie. Yes, the witch has a very powerful ability, but it's kind of a one-off. So I don't think it's better. But the Bee Movie is not better than Monsters, Inc. No, the Door Network is broken. Like, I don't think anything's going to beat that in the support class. It borderline should go higher, but no. Anyway, moving on. Back to Disney with another overpowered Disney movie, and that is Aladdin. Aladdin is God tier. I think it's better than Death, because while the genie can't kill people and also can't make people fall in love or come back from the dead, the genie, with the limitations off, can just do anything else. And you can find a way to kill people by doing workarounds easily. I mean, if you just said, Genie, I wish to be invincible. I also wish to have a fighter jet. I wish that, like, vehicles didn't work anymore. So there goes the whole Cars universe. Like, you can just keep rattling them off. And you may not even need to do it through wishes, because the genie, and perhaps genies plural because of Jafar, can kind of just do things on their own, right? If you just say, Genie, I wish that you're free and you're going to help us win this war. Well, now you got a genie on your side. So that's God tier. I don't think it quite reaches the level of the Greek gods, though. Again, the Greek gods are just kind of at a level of their own. So, yeah, I think we can agree to that. Next, we have Pixar's Ratatouille, who, despite being one of the nearest and dearest movies to my heart, given food being awesome, it's going to be not helpful at all. I think rats, or even just one rat, is better than an ant pile. But Remy, oh man, I just thought of this. This is going to be good. Remy is not cooking, okay? Remy's not cooking here. He is cooking in his movie, but in this war, he's not cooking. So, yeah, that's what we got. Is he better than Toy Story? Maybe. I mean, honestly, the toys aren't very good at anything. And Remy is a rat. I mean, rats can get anywhere. And he can cook some good meals, boost morale a little bit. But overall, he's not helpful at all. So we'll just put him at the top of not helpful at all. Okay, next we have DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon. This is a good one. So, How to Train Your Dragon is crazy strong. At least top contender. What How to Train Your Dragon is bringing is hundreds, if not thousands, of dragons, some of which are massive, like the alpha dragons. Example, Red Death from the first movie. Or the Bewilder Beast would be another one. But that's kind of irrelevant. They're just big dragons. There's a lot of dragons. Toothless himself, overpowered, super strong, super stealthy. Would probably put up a fight against a fighter jet. But I will say, I don't think it's going to beat Cars. So I think there's just so many dragons that Kung Fu Panda and The Incredibles simply don't have enough characters to take them on. But Cars has, again, the entire military force of probably not only the United States government but every government, and the vehicles are sentient, so that they have thoughts, they have their own personality. So I'm imagining an army of dragons showing up, and then just a bunch of surface to air missiles shooting them down, right? Like, yeah, I'm afraid the dragons don't quite make it higher than they don't make it past Cars. Cars is the firewall. All right, next we have Disney's Big Hero 6. So Big Hero 6 is kind of middle of the road. They might be a top contender because they do have some pretty strong characters. I mean, it's kind of like discount Iron Man times 5 or so. You have just different technological powers. You have a couple robots, but I think there's just they're not strong enough, and there's not enough of them to really win. I think Elsa could solo all of them, all the characters in Big Hero 6. Yes, you kind of have like those like dimensional gates, and then you have the villain who has nanobites, which is really, really strong. But I don't know. There's like something there that I feel like they're missing. Like they're missing an X factor. They just don't seem like they seem like they're trying to fight when they're not suited for it. I mean, like, literally, the main robot, who I'm blanking on his name, is a medical bot that's been kind of turned into a fighting bot. But I feel like every character is like that, where they aren't really meant to be fighting, but against all odds, they are. But it's not going to cut it. They're powerful. They are powerful. But I think they're just limited in that they're not quite at that next level. That, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm kind of going off vibes for this one, to be honest. I think Elsa takes him. So yeah, we're keeping them there. Next, we have Pixar's WALL-E. And WALL-E is a fun one, I will say. But I don't think WALL-E's going to make it too high. Let's just be optimistic here and make them powerful but limited. WALL-E, not helpful, I'm afraid. Eve, pretty helpful. She's a robot with a plasma gun on her arm. She's very fast. She can just fly into space and back again. So, like, that's strong. You do have the cruise ship, but really besides Eve, you don't have any weapons. Like, there are, I'm assuming, multiple Eves. So for that reason, maybe we should put them in powerful but limited just because they have a lot of technology. No, but honestly, I think they're going to be a support. And I'm going to put them in above the bees, but again, interdimension, the door network, ridiculous, really powerful. They can just show up in your door. Like, Elsa better not make doors in her ice castle, because if she does, she's cooked. So WALL-E's going here because there's just a lot of tech. There is some weapons, but not quite valuable enough to beat the door network. Okay, moving on. Next, we have Megamind, instant god tier. Instant god tier. A lot of you might know where I'm going with this. But yes, Megamind's super smart and has a bunch of weapons and technology. Titan is really strong, but he's an idiot. But really, the power is coming from Metro Man. Metro Man is ridiculous. Ridiculously strong. I mean, he literally had a midlife crisis at a speed faster than lasers move. Huh? What? Right? Like, that doesn't even compute in my brain. I don't understand that. But that's how fast he is. And he has no known weaknesses. He is essentially Superman. He may even beat Superman. I don't even know. I haven't even thought about that. But yeah, he's really strong. The problem is, although he beats everyone else on this list, I don't know if he can beat Death. I don't know if he can beat the Genie. And I don't think he can really beat the gods. Can you kill Death? Probably not. Can he die? Probably. So he doesn't beat Death. Can he beat the Genie? If he knew that the Genie was trapped in a lamp and where that lamp was, actually, he wouldn't even need to know that. If he knew there was a Genie in a lamp, he could probably find that lamp before the Genie even got out of the lamp. So there's that. But why would he know that? I think the Genie would probably just show up and instantly become untouchable by Metro Man because he's a genie. Hercules, can Metro Man fly to Mount Olympus and just go Kratos on the whole god of on the whole list of gods? Probably, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, essentially, Olympus is sometimes at the top of a mountain that you can just climb to, but also Olympus is sometimes just in its own realm. I'm going to err on the side of no, Metro Man cannot kill an army of immortal gods. So, but he's still in the same tier as them. That's something. All right, next we have Disney's Moana. Kind of like Hercules, we have a demigod, but we don't have quite the backup that Hercules is bringing. We do have a couple spirits, right? Like you have that spirit that's both the spirit of creation and the spirit of destruction. So that's powerful. But really what you have is the entire ocean, okay? I mean, the ocean, I think, is the most powerful character in the movie. Maui, yes, is strong, and so I'm gonna throw it in powerful but limited. But just the fact that there is the entire ocean as a character that seems to have thoughts and motivations, and you can reason with, you can strategize with, will work with you. That's pretty good. Now it is limited because it's only water based, so I don't think Moana is making it above powerful but limited. But I will say they're above Big Hero 6 probably. Frozen, Elsa is just so good. Elsa is so good. Elsa beats Maui in my opinion, not even close. But Elsa doesn't beat the ocean, obviously. Elsa probably beats that spirit of destruction, I will say. Yikes, this is tough. I'm gonna keep the ocean below Elsa because Elsa's not limited to any specific place. But the ocean's still really good, but a little bit more limited. So if you guys disagree with that one, I don't blame you. But I'm leaving it like that. All right, next we have Pixar's Up. Up is, I think, by definition, better than nothing. But that's it. I mean, the strongest thing in Up is the one gun that exists, I think. The house, kind of useless. I mean, it's just any flying character is going to take it down. Like, even Mulan, the penguins would take it down instantly. A bird in Lion King could probably take it down. I don't know. Up is just not that good. They have a bunch of dogs, right, that can speak, and they do have, like, that giant blimp that the villain has, which is pretty strong, I would say. So, oh my gosh, I don't know. I think I would rather have an army of lions and elephants and stuff than Up. So I'm leaving Up there at the bottom of better than nothing. Because it's just an old dude and a Boy Scout. Like, really. You know what I mean? All right, we're moving on. Next, we have DreamWorks Shrek. So Puss in Boots is making an appearance again. Puss in Boots is kind of in here twice. It's fine. He's really good. Alone, he's really good. He's better than nothing. But Shrek is also bringing in Shrek, who's an ogre and really strong, and a full-blown dragon, a fairy godmother. I mean, I think Shrek is in powerful but limited just because there's all these wild card characters that have these good abilities, but not quite powerful enough, I think, to bump the universe up to top contender. So leaving it there. Next we have the Little Mermaid, who is definitely at least better than nothing, but I would say the definition of powerful but limited, because you have magical characters like Ursula, and is her dad's name Triton? It might be, but either way, they're both really strong, and you kind of just have like a B level or a B version of like Poseidon. I'm not sure if he's meant to be Poseidon or just the king of Olympus or the king of Atlantis or whatever, but they're pretty powerful, but they are limited to the water. So bottom of powerful but limited, because while they are powerful, they're not that powerful. Like Ursula got beat by a boat. I mean, come on. So anyway, we're keeping it there. Finding Nemo is next by Pixar, and Finding Nemo is not helpful at all. The strongest thing in Finding Nemo is a great white shark. I mean, that's pretty good. I'll put that below Remy, because although Bruce can beat Remy, like Remy can go anywhere, right? So I mean, I think the spy potential is just a little bit better. But the toys are kind of useless. I would rather have some allies in the water than the toys, but I would probably rather have a bunch of rats, if I'm being honest. I'm just going to stay out of the water. Why am I going in the water? If I don't have water, I'm just not going to go in there. And then every water character is going to be useless. Anyway, last but not least, we have Prince of Egypt. All right, do we give Prince of Egypt God? That is the question. Let me know in the comments. If we don't, Prince of Egypt is better than nothing, I would say. You just got a lot of characters that have some fighting potential, and maybe you have like the will of God or like Moses maybe. But if we do give the god of Egypt, or the Prince of Egypt god, that is instantly the top of God tier. You could argue that God from the Bible verse is equal to the Greek pantheon, because like they're just both doing the same thing in different ways. But I'm giving the edge to Bible verse God, because I think it's just better to have one force that has all the power than being split up between all these different gods with different personalities and motivations and quarrels and, you know, arguments and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we're just gonna bump God of, or Prince of Egypt, to the top there, and that's our list. That is our list. Let me know if you have any disagreements, or if you have any movies that weren't included on here that you think would really shake things up. I will say again that there are going to be videos that I'm putting together to come out later that are going to be more on the high-level strategy of how certain movies might fight each other, and how the universe, or I should say multiverses as a whole, would do if they went to war against one another. I'm also going to post possibly a tournament between the three universes. And it's going to be like one Disney movie versus one Pixar movie versus one DreamWorks movie. So that'll be fun. And we'll do it like by rounds. There'll be 10 rounds, and whoever wins, wins. I might send out some posts to get your predictions before the video, so look out for those as well. That's it. We did our experiment. Look out for more experiments to come. Subscribe if you want to get more of stuff like this. It's the first time I've asked for that. You don't have to, but I'd appreciate it. Anyway, that's the video. Don't forget, we are not the only ones experimenting.